Wow, I love hearing about like the little things that us here in America that we don't hear about. All these different, supernaturals or cryptids or whatever. Just the stuff that we would never be subjected to or hear about here. Because, especially where I live, because as these guys know, I live in the middle of the Bible Belt. So superstitions and things like that we're kind of an oddity here when it comes to believing in stuff like that. But I love it. I just love hearing all these little things.
So do I. And when we lived in Pennsylvania, we were there for like a decade. And before, when I lived in New York, and since we moved here to Jersey, I haven't been able to. And since I was diagnosed with Parkinson, I definitely have a difficult time standing for long periods or ambulating. But we used to investigate all these things quite often. And
wow.
In Pennsylvania especially, we go investigate demonic infestations, hauntings, people talking to weird entities, whether they're aliens or religious figures or folklore figures, people experiencing cold spots and hot spots. And we had more than our share of cryptids. There was like the walking hand, which could also be a land octopus, so some people thought. That was a common investigate in Pennsylvania. There was something that looked like a walking hand, and it had like a bulbous head. And other people said it might be like a land octopus. Then there was a thing that looked like a snake, but it moved really fast, and it was furry, and it had red eyes that glowed in the dark. We investigated that, and we found 3 generations of people who didn't know each other reporting the same phenomenon, with this slithering, furry, red-eyed thing.
That doesn't sound like a cute thing.
It doesn't sound like, I'm sorry?
And I said, that doesn't sound very cute to me.
My wife, she's a scientific one among us. She researched all these things. Could be like pygmy badgers or whatever remotely sounded like it. But we weren't able to identify it at the end. And some things turned out, like once we investigated a demonic thing, and what they were hearing that they were attributing to growling turned out to be somebody mowing their lawn, like 2 streets over.
Oh my God.
They were very upset when we pointed that out to them. Some things could not be explained.
Hercules, have you ever investigated the Pine Barrens?
No, I always wanted to investigate the Pine Barrens. I've researched the Pine Barrens, and on an earlier series of podcasts out in Pennsylvania, I talked to the authors of 2 books on the Jersey Devil.
Yeah, the Jersey Devil.
Yeah, and they wrote a sequel to that, so I interviewed them years and years and years ago, and I reviewed their book too. So I was interested in Pine Barrens. People I know who went there, but unfortunately I never went to the Pine Barrens. You?
No, I haven't been there. I've been in New Jersey.
That's where I grew up, Paul.
Really?
Yeah, Phil.
Phil, I grew up in the Pine Barrens. Yeah, those are my stomping grounds.
Did you hang out at the Pine Barrens?
All the time. We had woods parties in there all the time as teenagers. That's my grandfather I grew up being told stories about the Jersey Devil and how they, the classic one was guy and girl goes out to the Pine Barrens in a van, because it's the 60s, everybody had a van, or the 70s with the van. They're making out, and they hear the scratching on the window or on the roof, and of course he goes out to investigate, and next thing you know, blood's running all over the windows. She's, they find her, but they find his body mangled and all that because she never gets out of the van, and it's the Jersey Devil. But the real story behind it is it goes back to a little town called Smithsville and a family called Leeds, and it's Leeds Point right there. And so anyway, it's supposed to be Mother Leeds' 13th child, and there's stories that it could have been a child out of wedlock. And that's why she didn't want the child, and she said, kind of cursed it. But supposedly, as the child was being born, it transformed and killed the two women that were aiding in birth, and flew out the chimney. But there were also stories about how this child may have been a child that was born in deformity and was raised in isolation, and not allowed to be seen in the public in the Pine Barrens. There actually is a grave of the Jersey Devil, and back then graves had footstones and headstones, and so the footstone says he lives again. And so I had been there as a teenager. Everybody had to go see it, kind of thing. So we grew up with all those stories about the Pine Barrens, and it is creepy back there because it's the largest forest on the East Coast. It's the largest source of fresh water on the East Coast. There was a plan at one point in time to actually bring the water, even though it's kind of tinted like iced tea colored because of the tree